36th District Court is now in session with the Honorable Raeigen Evans presiding. While court's in session, there's no reading, walking around, talking, eating, sleeping, smoking, or driving. When your name is called, please unmute your device if muted and give your full and undivided attention to the court. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. This is the People versus Dennis Daughtry, ticket number SP 1177224, count 1, leave scene of accident, personal injury, count 2, leave scene of accident, property damage, and count 3, failed to report accident. Good morning, good afternoon. Please say your names for the record, starting with the People.
Good afternoon, Tamika Horn, appearing on behalf of the People, P70303.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Josh Arnkoff appearing on behalf of Mr. Daughtry, P63139.
Mr. Daughtry, say your name, sir.
Dennis Daughtry.
All right, Officer Robinson, can you say your name?
Good morning or good afternoon, Officer Willie Robinson, badge 2590, Detroit Police.
Mr. Draper, can you say your name?
Good afternoon, Jawan Draper.
And Ms. Grimes, can you say your name, please?
Good afternoon, Kathleen Grimes.
We are in the middle of trial. I do know that off the record, Ms. Horn did indicate as to count 3, the People were moving to dismiss that. I don't know, with prejudice, was it?
That would be the charge of failure to report accident, and that is the third charge on ticket.
Ms. Madam Prosecutor, excuse me, but sound like you in a tunnel and distant.
My mic, I'm sorry. Yes, Your Honor, the People are moving to dismiss failure to report the third charge on ticket SP 1177224. And that would be count 3.
This is with or without prejudice?
We will move with.
Action.
Action, Your Honor.
All right, so it's dismissed with prejudice. We were in the middle of testimony. I believe you had just finished your direct examination of Officer Robinson.
That's correct, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Arnkoff, are you ready to proceed as to cross-examination as to Officer Robinson?
I am, Your Honor. Obviously, we discussed on the record about a mutual sequestration order. So I would ask if we could put Ms. Grimes and Mr. Draper in the breakout rooms.
Judge, I will put them, you want me to put them in the the waiting room or the breakout room?
Whatever your preference is.
I will put them back both in the waiting room. Ms. Grimes and Mr. Draper, I'm putting you both in the waiting room, and we'll come back to get you when we need. Okay.
Thank you. And Your Honor, just to let you know, my computer has been having some issues with Zoom. I keep getting my internet's unstable, and according to my IT department, it's something outside of the firm that they put them on notice, I think with Comcast. So there may be some moments where you can't hear me, but I just want to let you know.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Officer Robinson, you want to raise your right hand, sir? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
All right, put your hand down. You may proceed, Mr. Arnkoff.
Thank you. All right, Officer Robinson, last time you were here, you gave some testimony about your training. Can you state again what type of training you received for accident investigations?
Accident Investigation 1, AI1, as it's called.
All right, and so what is AI1?
AI1 is recognizing evidence of an accident, put in the accident, logging the evidence using a coordinate method or a triangulation method, making non-scale accident diagrams. It's basically where you use a measuring tape to document where everything came to place within the accident, the scene of an accident.
Okay, and is that a class that you take?
That is a class, yes, sir.
Okay, and how long is that class?
I believe it's a week, if I'm not mistaken.
Is there additional accident training classes?
Yeah, so the accident training goes up all the way to, I want to say 24 or 25. Each class is something different.
Okay. Did you get any specific training with respects to accidents that involve tractor trailers?
No, I've not.
Okay.
There
Have
is
you-
there is one for tractor trailers. I've not taken it.
Okay. Do you, obviously, and notwithstanding the fact that you've not taken the particular training with tractor trailers, do you have any kind of understanding on the physics of how tractor trailers work?
I don't understand your question.
Well, like, so, when the tractor is moving, how does the trailer move? Do you have any kind of experience with that?
To my knowledge, it's what's referred to as an articulated vehicle, basically.
All right, what's an articulated vehicle mean?
It's where the trailer tries to follow the position of the tractor.
Okay. We looked at some pictures the last time we were here in court, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only evidence of damage that you saw to Mr. Daughtry's tractor trailer was the second to last axle on the trailer on the passenger side, correct?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Did you look at the truck, the tractor trailer for any other signs of damage anywhere else?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you didn't see any?
No, sir, just that one rim.
All right. Did you take any measurements of the tractor trailer?
Measurements? No, I did not.
Okay. Do you know how long it is basically from stem to stern?
I do not off the top of my head, no.
Do you agree it was a pretty long vehicle?
Yes.
All right. If I have the ability to share my screen, okay. It's currently disabled. Your Honor, may I have ability to share screen? Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, one moment. All right, I'll mark this. I'm gonna have to go a little out of order. This will be defendant's exhibit number 2. This is a photograph of the truck, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And did you take this picture? Do you know?
That is a photo I took, yes, sir.
Okay. So we see here's obviously this is the tractor, the cab area, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then this from here to the end is the trailer, correct?
Correct.
And it looks like it's probably maybe blocked by a street sign, but where my mouse is pointing, that's the axle that made contact, or the axle that had damage, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And again, you don't know, do you know how far that axle that had damage is from the cab of the vehicle?
I do not.
Okay. Could you approximate the distance of this this tractor trailer?
60 feet, 65 feet.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing at this point. Again, so the total you put at 65 feet, but as far as where the second to last axle is, you don't know where that is from the front, correct?
No, I don't.
Okay. Did you find it strange at all that only that second to last axle on the trailer made contact with Mrs. Grimes' vehicle?
Didn't know. I wouldn't say I found it strange.
All right. Did you do any investigation as to how just that portion of the trailer made contact with Mrs. Grimes' vehicle?
No, sir.
Do you have any explanation as you sit here today as an accident investigator from the physics point of view, how that could happen?
And Your Honor, the people would object. The officers has previously stated that he has not done any training as it relates to semi-trailers. So it will call upon speculation of the officer.
All right.
I guess I rephrase it whether.
Yeah, can you rephrase the questions, Mr.
Yeah, I
Armstrong?
mean, yeah, do you have any knowledge, and if you don't know, it's fine to say you don't know, how this could possibly happen from an accident perspective?
Only logical thing I can think of is that the tractor swerved a little, just a tiny swerve left. I'm sorry, swerved to the right, went back left. And as he went left, the tractor or the trailer followed suit, and that wheel caught the driver's side rear of the GMC. That's the only logical explanation I can come up with.
Okay. Do you have any evidence that that's what actually happened?
I do not have any evidence of that, sir. Only evidence I have is the damaged vehicle and the tire on the trailer.
And as you testified, since it's an articulated vehicle, the trailer basically would mirror what the tractor does, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it does not appear that the tractor struck any vehicles, correct?
The tractor did not have any damage, and the other tires did not have any damage, just that one tire.
Okay. Did you actually, now my understanding is where you ended up talking with Ms. Grimes and where you ended up talking with Mr. Daughtry, it was not at the scene of where the original contact was made, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Did you ever go back to the actual area where the accident took place?
No, sir.
Okay. So you didn't take any pictures of that scene?
No, I didn't go back. Didn't take any pictures of the street in front of Ziedman's. No, sir.
Okay. How are you assigned to this particular area of the city?
Yes, sir. This took place in the what's known as the 7th precinct. That's the precinct that I work at.
All right. So you're pretty familiar with what Gratiot is like near Ziedman's?
Yes, sir.
And is it typical to see a lot of cars parked along that curb lane on Gratiot?
Yes.
And you have no pictures of what the situation was in that curb lane from Ziedman's basically down to where you spoke to Mr. Daughtry?
No.
All right. Do you recall if on that particular day that there were cars lined up against in that curb lane down Gratiot?
Around that time of day, there's always vehicles there. So I can say without a doubt that yes, there would have been other vehicles parked there.
Okay.
From Shane all the way to Grandy, that stretch of traffic, there are businesses there. There are always cars parked along the curb right there.
Okay. Where, what area, if you could tell the court, did you eventually end up making contact with Mr. Daughtry and Ms. Grimes and everyone else?
So on southbound Gratiot, south of East Verner, between East Verner and I-75, there's a meat. There's a meat business. It's called Al Namer, ALNAMER. He stopped in front of that location, and that's where I made contact with both parties.
And Mr. Daughtry was stopped at that point, correct?
In front of the Al Namer wholesale. Yes, sir. He was stopped at that point.
When you arrived on scene, was he still inside his vehicle or was he outside of his of the tractor trailer?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did you, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, last time where you testified, it's maybe about a quarter of a mile down from where you believe that the incident originally occurred?
Yeah, I would say quarter of a mile.
Okay, all right. And you spoke to Mr. Daughtry, correct?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did you ask Mr. Daughtry if he contacted 911?
I don't recall.
Okay. Do you know if he called 911?
I do not.
As we sit here today, you still don't know?
I've heard that he did, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Would that make any difference to you if he did?
As far as what was issued, as far as the tickets issued that day?
Yes.
No.
And why would it not make a difference?
He failed to stop at the scene of the accident. He continued to drive. He had to be flagged down, and citizens had to honk their horn to get his attention to get him to come to a stop. So in my mind, it's still leaving the scene of an accident.
Okay. Do you know how many, are there any traffic lights in between where first contact was and to where you ended up talking to Mr. Daughtry?
Yes, sir. There are 2 traffic lights.
Okay. Do you have any evidence that he went through any red lights?
No, I don't.
Do you have any evidence that he accelerated after contact was made?
That he accelerated?
Yeah.
if you continue to drive, I think it's reasonable to assume you accelerated if you continue to drive. So I would say
Okay.
yes.
Well, when I say accelerated, let's say if he was going 10 miles per hour, do you have any evidence that he went up to, 15, 20, 30?
No, I don't, sir.
Okay. Did you have any evidence that he started switching lanes or taking any other evasive maneuvers?
No, sir.
Okay. And do you know, I mean, have you ever been inside of a tractor trailer of this magnitude?
Only thing I've a tow truck, a tractor tow truck,
Okay. But 60 foot.
not a flatbed trailer. No.
Okay. So you don't know what a person can hear, see, or feel when they're in a tractor trailer like that, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. And eventually, Mr. Daughtry did stop, correct?
That is correct. Did
Mr. Daughtry tell you that he was trying to flee the scene?
No.
Okay. So when you issued the ticket for the failure to use due care and caution, was that issued just for the mere fact that Mr. Daughtry's tractor, the trailer made contact with Ms. Grimes' vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Okay. But you don't know exactly what he did to make that happen, correct?
No. The only thing I can say is he was too close to the vehicle, too close to the cars parked on the side of the road.
Okay, but you don't know that for sure, correct?
No, sir.
Okay. Did you do any type of investigation to see if Ms. Grimes had put her vehicle in reverse?
No, I didn't.
Do you recall Mr. Daughtry saying anything to you about seeing reverse lights on one of the vehicles that he was coming up upon?
He stated that he stated that he believed the GMC attempted to pull out from the parking space and sideswipe his trailer. Is what he stated to me.
Okay. And you didn't do any investigation to confirm whether or not that happened, correct?
That explanation isn't logical. It doesn't make any sense.
Why would it not make sense?
If somebody's trying to pull out from a parking space, they're going to pull out with the front end, the nose first, which will put the front of the vehicle out farther than the rear of the vehicle. In this case, the rear of the vehicle is what had all the damage instead of the front of the vehicle. If the front of the vehicle has some damage to the rim or the bumper or the fender, I would say, yeah, that might have been logical. But if she's trying to pull out, but the rear of the vehicle gets hit, then that makes no sense to me.
Do you know, was there a vehicle in front of and or behind Mrs. Grimes' vehicle when the contact was made?
No, I don't.
Okay. So you can't say for certain if she did put her vehicle in, drive or reverse, correct?
No, sir, I can't.
Okay, all right. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect, Ms. Horn?
Just a confirmation that Officer Robinson, you do believe that the distance from Ziedman's to where he ended up was approximately a quarter of a mile.
Yeah, I'll say about a quarter of a mile.
Okay, thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you.
No redirect, Your Honor.
All right, is Officer Robinson excused, or do you guys plan on calling him again?
I'm good, Your Honor.
And I am too, Your Honor. We do have contact information, so if we need anything, I'm able to reach out.
All right. So you're
Okay.
all set, Officer Robinson. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, you too. Thank you, officer.
Thank you.
The next witness, Ms. Horn.
I want to call Miss Kathleen Grimes.
Okay.
Oh,
Raise your right hand, Ms. Grimes.
yes,
Raise your right hand, ma'am. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
yes,
Put your hand down.
Okay, thank you, Miss Grimes. I'm gonna ask you a couple of questions about this particular incident. Where were you on March 17th, 2021?
at Siemens jewelry store with my mom.
Okay, and what brought you? Did you drive to that jewelry store?
Yes,
And what kind of vehicle did you drive there?
A gold Terrain.
Okay. And a Terrain, is that a GMC vehicle?
Yes.
And what were you doing at that time, approximately 4:49 p.m.?
Just dropped my mother off to pay for our birthday gift. And I was sitting in the car waiting for her.
Okay. And where were you sitting?
Right in front of Siemens, where they tell me to drop my mother off.
Okay. And what street is that on?
Gracia.
Okay. And is that facing southbound or northbound, like going to Macomb County or downtown?
Downtown.
Okay. And while you sat in that vehicle, was your vehicle running?
No.
Okay. And had you moved that vehicle while parked?
No.
And while you were parked in that vehicle on southbound Gratiot, what was on your right side? As far
On
as
my-
roadway, or was it a sidewalk, or was it a street on the other part of the street on the right side?
On my right side,
Yes,
that was
ma'am.
a sidewalk and the
Okay.
store,
And what was on your left side?
the street.
Okay. And would that be southbound Gratiot?
Yes.
Okay. And were you in the city of Detroit at that time?
Yes.
And approximately how long were you sitting in the vehicle?
Around 10 minutes after I dropped my mother off, let her go in.
And did you say you stayed parked there on Gratiot?
Yes.
And while you were parked, what happened?
I was listening to my gospel music, waiting on my mother. And out of nowhere, I was like, bang, and thrown around in the car. And I didn't know what was going. I heard gunshots, smoke, and all.
Okay. Do you believe what you heard were gunshots at the time?
It sounded like gunshots. I didn't know if I was in a crossfire or what.
And what did you feel while sitting in that car during this time?
What I felt, I was thrown around and looking to see what is going on, because the car was shaking me, and all you was hearing is the shots and everything and the smoke, and I was just thrown around and trying. I was finna jump out, and the Holy Spirit told me don't, and I'm glad I didn't, because I wouldn't be here to tell the story.
And so after you felt the shaking around and everything, what did you see next?
A big monster truck passing by me, and all white, and all I saw was the long white thing going past me, and white smoke after the passing.
Okay. And how long were you sitting there after you felt this rumbling around, or the car being rumbled around?
Like 10 minutes, because I was out. I was really lost, like, what just happened to me?
Did you leave the scene after this happened?
I tried to follow car so he wouldn't get away. So if I died, my mama know who did it.
Okay. And was there damage? Let's see. Did you take photographs of your vehicle after?
Yeah, my family, they took the pictures.
Okay. And let's see. Okay, I'm gonna share screen. Let me see. Okay, and let me look at our previous exhibits that were entered. Okay. Okay, Ms. Grimes, earlier on, the officer testified previously 2 weeks ago when we were last here, as to some photographs he took during his investigation. And this would have been entered as the People's Exhibit D. And this was admitted into evidence. I'm going to share this photo with you, Ms. Grimes, and please tell me if this is an accurate representation of what your vehicle looked like that day.
Yes,
And what area on your vehicle is this?
that's the left-hand side.
And was this damage here before this incident occurred?
No, we had a new car.
Okay, Your Honor. And let's see. And the people are going to also show Exhibit E, which would be, let me see. Okay. And thank you for your patience. Stop share. And Ms. Grimes, this was admitted as Exhibit E, the People's Exhibit E. Is this an accurate and fair representation of what the rear of your vehicle looked like?
Yes,
And is that your license plate number?
yes,
Okay. And as a result of this incident, have you been able to drive this vehicle?
no,
And at the time of the incident, did that big old monster truck, as you called it here today, did that vehicle continue on?
yes,
Did that vehicle immediately stop?
no,
Did that person who, the driver of that vehicle, did they exchange any names?
no,
Any registration, ma'am?
nothing.
You're doing good, thank you. And at that time, did that person render assistance to you medically?
No,
Was transportation, as you might know, or medical transportation provided to you by the individual in that vehicle?
no,
And why do you believe this information was not exchanged?
because he was headed
Your Honor,
toward the.
I'm just gonna object as a speculation.
Understood. Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. And you say that you were struck in front of Ziedman's on Gratiot, correct?
Yes,
And would you say that is the scene of the accident?
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Grimes. I have no further questions at this time.
Thank you, may I, Your Honor?
Yes, bro.
All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Grimes, you said you were you felt the rumbling for 10 whole minutes?
No, I said, he asked me, how long did I sit? And I said, it was like 10 minutes because I didn't know. I was all messed up for what just happened.
Okay, so
It was more than a rumble.
all right, so how soon after the contact was made did you put your vehicle into gear?
I had to start the car up to get going. It was the older lady stopped in the middle of the street to ask me, was I okay? The lady witness.
Okay, where were you when she asked you if you were okay?
Right in front of Siemens.
Okay. All right. Did you, the truck that made contact with you, were you able to tell what part of the truck made contact with your vehicle?
The front, he was stuck up under my truck. And he kept trying to get it loose. That's what kept throwing me and throwing me. And he was hooked onto my border. And as he zoomed off, that was the gunshots that I was hearing. The borders was coming loose that was bolted to my car. And that was throwing me back and forth as he was zooming off, and the tires was busting. And that's where all the smoke and stuff came from when he zoomed off.
All right, so is it your testimony that the front of his truck, for the tractor part, first made contact with your vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see any damage? Did you ultimately see my client's truck after the accident?
Yes.
Okay, did you see any damage to the front of my client's truck?
I couldn't see nothing because my heart and everything was going. They had to cut my jacket off of me and put me in the ambulance.
Okay. Mr. Dot, the truck eventually did stop, correct?
Who you talking to, me?
Yes, to you.
No, he didn't stop. He got blocked by another big semi truck, and Mr. Draper blocked him off. That's how he stopped. He wasn't stopping. He was on his way to the freeway
How do you know he was on his way to the freeway?
because he was right there,
All right.
and they kept trying to stop him, and he was going. He had no choice to stop because the other semi truck blocked him.
Who was driving the other?
Draper,
Who was driving the other semi truck?
a semi driver from somewhere.
You have that person's name?
No,
Are there any pictures of this semi truck anywhere?
no one had cameras. No one knew I was going to be an accident.
You were still on the scene when Officer Robinson appeared, correct?
Yes,
Okay, and do you know, did Officer Robinson talk to the driver of the other semi truck?
somebody was at the door, and they let me know the EMS was coming for me.
All right, so you weren't paying attention to what else was going on?
Like I said, I was messed up from what just happened. There's nothing I could pay attention to with my life passing me. I almost lost my life.
Okay. Did you were you able to tell if Mr. Daughtry, my client, if he, increased his speed at all after contact was made?
Yes, he did increase his speed
How do you know?
because that's where all the smoke and the zooming passed by me. That's why I knew it was a long, long truck.
Okay. Going when he made contact with you versus how fast he was going after contact?
He was going fast,
All right, how fast?
faster than you're supposed to be driving on Gracia.
All right. Do you have any experience in speed detection?
I know when a truck with a load not supposed to be speeding
Well, you know what,
like
at
that.
this, we can move on from this line of questioning because he's not charged with any speeding tickets, so.
Ms. Grimes, were there any traffic lights between where the contact was made and where Mr. Daughtry's truck ultimately stopped?
Yeah, it was traffic lights.
Okay. Did Mr. Daughtry run through any red lights?
I didn't see that. I didn't see lights and all of that.
Okay.
It was just an accident. I'm not thinking street lights. I'm thinking what just happened to me.
And you ended up going to the hospital, correct?
Yes,
And what hospital did you go to?
receiving.
And what were your chief complaints when you went to receiving?
It was my back and my neck and my head and my arms and my chest was, everything was going like that, and they had to cut me out of my jacket and tell me to stay with them.
Did you suffer any fractures as a result of the accident?
They said my neck, and my back, collar thing on my neck, and let everything heal, but nothing was broken.
And do you recall, did you suffer from any illnesses, diseases, anything like that prior to this accident?
What I had, then had cancer. Cancer was on no stage, and my lupus has been quiet.
All right, so you have lupus?
Yeah.
All right, and what are the symptoms of lupus? I'm
Huh?
sorry, what was that? What are the symptoms of the lupus?
My symptoms. I'm just learning about lupus. It's something dealing with the blood cells.
And Your Honor, the people would object because what we're trying to establish were there any injuries as a result of this incident?
Well, I think I kind of see where Mr. Arnkoff is going with this.
Okay.
So I'll give him just a little bit of leeway,
Okay.
but I don't want to get too into it. That makes
Neither
sense.
do I, Your Honor.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Grimes,
Yeah.
I've read your medical records. I saw somewhere in there that prior to this accident, you'd been in a great deal of pain already, correct?
Not like that.
All right.
That's a pain.
What kind of pain did you have, and where did you have it prior to the accident?
Well, I wasn't in pain because I wasn't at the pain doctor prior to the accident. I wasn't at a pain clinic or anything.
All right, but you do recall making a statement to one of your medical providers after the accident that even before that, you had been in pain a good portion of your life, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what is your height and weight? And I know we're not supposed to ask that kind of stuff, but for court purposes, we can.
Oh, I'm 289.
And what's your height?
5.
And Your Honor, the people are asking what is the relevance of that line of questioning?
I'll just ask a quick follow-up, Your Honor.
So that would be an objection.
What's the follow-up?
The follow-up's going to be, has any doctor ever told you that, your current height and weight could also cause pain in your joints?
No, I was on prednisone and weight gain medicine that made me gain weight.
Okay.
And
Right.
I worked for 24 years and I wasn't painting. I worked at the hospital and I did everything like everybody else and never missed a day.
Okay. You didn't suffer a closed head injury, correct?
Well, they believe it might be a small concussion because when I went in the hospital, I had a headache, bad headache, and they had to give me something, and I'm still having those headaches.
Okay. Did you have any lacerations?
What's that, like cuts?
Yeah.
My thumb was bruised up.
Okay. Were you diagnosed with any sprains?
Any what?
Sprains.
What'd you say, springs?
Yeah, a sprain, SPRAINS.
Like a sprained leg?
Yeah, like a sprained ankle.
Oh, it was just my arm and my shoulder, tore a rotator cuff, and in my arms, and in my back and my neck.
Are you saying you were diagnosed with a torn rotator cuff?
Yes.
All right, who diagnosed you with that?
The doctor that did my x-rays.
Okay, was that at the ER?
That was at the pain doctor, took all the x-rays of my body.
All right, which doctor was that?
I have the paperwork, the name, Dr. K.
Is that an initial or is that the full name?
The full name they call.
Okay,
I have the paperwork.
all right. All right, I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Can you redirect, Ms. Warren?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you, counsel. So Ms. Grimes, when you said you were all messed up, is that referring to your emotional state?
Yes.
And does it also refer to the state of what you felt you suffered physically?
Yes. The pain and the heart and everything going and the headache, all of that.
Okay. And when Attorney Armkoff asked you about you were still on the scene, quote unquote, when Officer Robinson got there, is that the same area where you were hit?
No.
Okay. So on the scene, as you stated earlier, what you would be referring to, just for clarification, in front of Zeidman's on southbound Gratiot.
Yes, it happened in Zeman.
Okay. And when you got to the area of the freeway, did you see Mr. Daughtry there?
Yes.
And would you say that was maybe the scene after the initial hit?
Yes.
And approximately how far down do you think that was?
Like, it's a meat place and then there's the freeway.
Okay. And approximately how long did it take you to get to that area when you pulled off from Zeidman's? How long did it take you to get to the after area where you saw Mr. Daughtry?
Oh, it's a ways down because that's Verner.
Okay. And would you say you were injured as a result of this incident?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions of this witness. Thank you, Ms. Grimes.
Yes,
Yeah.
I just have one question. Ms. Grimes,
Yes.
do you know approximately how much time it was that Mr. Daughtry's vehicle made contact with your vehicle? Because you said that, the vehicle was struck and it was stuck against your car and then it shook you around and then it got loose. So
He was
like how long?
He was hooked up under our car and he kept trying to untangle himself from the car. That's why it's messed up under there. And then in the process, when he straightened his truck up, the border part was hooked onto his car. And as he zoomed off, that's when all of the bolting and the shaking of the car was going as he zoomed off.
So I guess I'm wondering, like, how long did all of this take?
You could say like 15 minutes. You could say 15 minutes or something like that.
The whole
10,
incident, the whole
10.
incident happened.
Bad. It was like after the boom and hook, it was like, you could say like, how can I time it?
If you know, you can't.
Huh?
If you can answer that, if you can't, I mean, I don't want you to guess, but.
Yeah, I can't really guess because everything was going at once with that. And I didn't know what was shooting at me. Was I in a crossfire? What? But all you heard was the shooting and the car shaking. And all I saw was the smoke and the white truck zoom off. A long truck.
So did his vehicle stop when it made contact with your vehicle?
No, he zoomed off. He zoomed off. And that's
So
why
was it like, so was he driving by or did it like, because it sounds like it stops, he's stuck under you, he tries to shake it loose and then he drives off, but.
Right, he zoomed off. He zoomed off fast. He zoomed off. I saw all of the truck, and then the smoke was left in my face.
I'm still not that clear, but does anyone have any questions based on the court's question?
No, I had some follow-up though from Ms. Horn's questioning though, Your Honor, if I may just briefly. All right, Ms. Grimes, you have a no-fault case pending right now against your insurance carrier, correct?
Yes.
All right, and that's because your insurance carrier is not paying you personal injury benefits from this accident?
No, it's because your client said I pulled out on him, and I didn't.
All right, and that's why the insurance company won't pay?
They don't know the truth till the truth is told down. He hit me. I was part.
All right, so it's not true that your insurance company believes that the treatment and the injuries that you're complaining of have no relation to the accident?
It's not that they don't believe. I told the truth on everything I know.
Okay, I don't have any further questions.
All right, well, since it's your witness, you usually should have the last question. Ms. Hornady, rebuttal.
And we mentioned the damage of the vehicle, and this would be my last statement. Is your vehicle drivable or operable at this time, Ms. Grimes?
No.
And that's since the incident?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, counsel.
All right, you're excused as a witness, Ms. Grimes. Does anyone plan on recalling Ms. Grimes?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Any additional witnesses?
That would be the people are calling Mr. Jawan Draper. And so, Ms. Grimes, you can sign off.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Mr. Draper.
All right, Mr. Draper, can you raise your right hand, sir? You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, put your hand down. You may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. Draper.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so I just have some questions of you. On March 17th, 2021, were you in the city of Detroit?
Yes.
And approximately 4:49 p.m., where in the city of Detroit were you?
I was southbound Gratiot. Had just a little just before coming up approaching I think that's Siemens Pawn Shop.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying.
And what brought you to the area?
Well, I had just got off of work, and I was my father visiting my father who was in a nursing home at Regency. And I had ended up missing a stop, and I kept going because you miss a stop, you gotta kind of make that left on another street. I was trying to figure that out.
Okay, so and you were traveling southbound Gratiot. Were you driving?
Yes.
And what type of vehicle were you driving?
2017 MKZ Lincoln.
Okay. And at that time while you were driving and trying to find your way back around after the wrong turn, what did you observe at that point?
Witness on my right hand side, a semi truck striking the park SUV on my right. I seen it just hit it so hard, and I thought to myself that maybe he didn't see it or something. Or
do you know what color vehicle that was, as you explained, the SUV?
It was a dark vehicle, so it's either black or blue or either or. I just can't remember.
Okay. And as what lane were you in on Gratiot at that time?
I'm on my left, the left lane. I think it's only, I don't want to count that, but I was on the far left.
Okay, got it. And do you believe, would you be able to recognize describe the vehicle that you saw? Well, the truck that you explained.
Oh, that's it was a GMC vehicle, by GM.
Okay, and that was the vehicle that you believe was struck.
Oh, I saw it. Yeah, it was struck. Pieces was everywhere.
And as you looked up, what do you believe hit that vehicle?
No, that's in my truck because I was kind of in it because I had slowed down because I didn't want to miss my stop again. So I was kind of riding a little slower than faster, a little slower than I normally would because I was trying to find like how I'm gonna turn back around. But I looked to my right again. I saw that truck. It was going kind of fast a little bit.
What could you describe that truck that you saw that you believe struck the GMC?
No, it's a trailer like truck. It's big. It's a truck. It was white, like correct, yeah, tan or gray or white.
Okay.
It was a big truck.
Okay.
And with a trailer, like trailers. I think that's what you call it.
Okay. And the people would like to introduce, just for identification purposes, do you believe that you can recognize that truck if shown a picture?
Yeah, oh yes, yeah, yes.
Okay. And so the people had Exhibit B, I believe, Your Honor. We would like to use Exhibit B. Let me just pull that up. Which is okay. Okay. And Mr. Draper, does this truck look familiar to you as the truck that you saw at the scene? Hold on, let me share. One moment. Okay. Does that look familiar to you?
It was like somewhat like that, but I don't.
Well, if you can't exactly identify it, but you did identify the color,
Yeah.
and the color, and you described it as a big semi truck trailer. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for that. I'm going to stop that share. And then after you saw what you believe to be the truck striking the GMC vehicle SUV, what did you do after that?
I have a heart, and I felt kind of like, I'm on my way. My father was ill, so I'm on my way, and I looked, and I said, "Man, somebody get hurt?" I didn't stop right then and there. I tried to. My instincts came to try to flag him down. They're like, "Hey."
And how did you flag him down?
I was on the side, but you can only go so far. I wasn't trying to, get his attention like that. But I kind of waved my hand, but I don't think he seen me or didn't realize until because it was another vehicle also following right behind, probably right behind him. Looked like they wanted to also get him, but somehow he stopped.
And yep. And so, are you sure about how he stopped, or you just state that somehow when you arrived at the truck, it was stopped?
When I arrived and stopped, I pulled on somewhere like a little in front. I didn't want to get too much in his way, but he kind of stopped because it was me and another vehicle with a lady who was getting his attention also, trying to, like, hey. And from that point, I just let the matters be. I didn't approach him and anything. What I did was I approached the vehicle.
Okay, and I'm gonna take you step by step because the other attorney, he can object to me for telling like a narrative or a story. So just
I
answer the questions as I asked them. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And so did you ever stop?
Yes,
Okay. And where had you come to a stop?
just before 375 freeway, just before a little, I think we was just so close to it, but because so it's about just before 375. I just say that.
And what direction would that have been going on 375?
I'm still heading southbound on Gratiot.
Okay.
And to enter on 375, that would be going of course like southwest. If you go that way, yeah.
Okay. And gotcha. And what did you do after that, after you stopped?
I had a compassion to see what happened. I went to the vehicle to see Miss Grimes' vehicle.
And how did you come across Miss Grimes' vehicle? Was this where you saw her, the vehicle you say striking that GMC, or did you see her vehicle at the second scene where Mr. Daughtry was stopped?
At the second scene.
And about how far down from where you believe the vehicle struck, where you saw the vehicle strike the GMC to the opening of 375 southbound? About how long would you say? About how far? About how much time would you say?
You're gonna have to kind of repeat that.
I know I probably compounded it. I'm sorry. So about, let's just say distance wise or time wise, from where you that frame from the first scene where you saw the vehicle struck to where Mr. Daughtry was stopped. About how long? About how much time? Maybe how much distance?
I would. That's like it could be less than a minute, basically. Yeah, it wouldn't take that long.
Okay. All right. I think, and let me just make sure. Did you ever speak to Mr. Daughtry at that stop?
Well, no, I didn't approach him. I didn't.
Okay, understood. And how long approximately do you say that you stayed there?
I stayed there until to the end.
Okay. Okay, and were you there when the police officer came to start the investigation?
Yes.
And were you there when the ambulance arrived?
Yes.
Okay. And what did you say to Miss Grimes?
Well, I was making sure that she was all right, and I spoke with her mother also.
Okay. No further questions of this witness at this time, Your Honor. Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Mr. Draper,
yes.
I asked you a couple of questions here. I'm going to show you another picture of the truck, what we marked as defendant's exhibit number 2. Hold on a second here, bear with me. Are you able to see that? Are you able to see that picture?
Yes.
Okay, does that look like the truck that you saw strike Mrs. Grimes' vehicle?
Looks like that, somewhat like that.
Okay. Did you see what part of the tractor and or trailer struck Mrs. Grimes' vehicle?
From where I was on the left, it had to be on the passenger side where his truck that struck her side, the back end.
The back end of the trailer?
Trailer.
Okay, all right. You did not see the front end or the middle part of the truck or the middle part of the trailer strike Mrs. Grimes' vehicle?
Oh, no, it's going too fast.
Okay. And do you recall, were there any traffic lights between where the contact was made and to where Mr. Daughtry eventually stopped?
Like, I mean, there was a little, I think it's a ongoing forward. I know it was a light on one, but it was not no stops. It was going forward.
Okay. So my question is, did you see the tractor trailer run any red lights, go through any red lights?
No, I didn't, no.
Did the tractor trailer go through any stop signs without stopping?
No, I didn't see that.
Did it appear to you at all that started to suddenly accelerate even faster after contact was made?
It was a frequent flow. He was still going, like driving like normal, just driving close to the vehicle.
All right. And did you notice the truck eventually came to a stop, correct?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
And it stopped on its own?
Yes, don't you stop the truck.
Okay. And I heard in your testimony earlier, you had made mention that maybe you weren't sure that the driver of the truck was aware of what happened. Is that true?
That's just, that's in my opinion. I'm not really sure if he did know. I took it as that.
You took it as what? That maybe he didn't know?
Yes.
And is the reason that maybe you thought that have anything to do with the size of the vehicle?
No, that had nothing to do because I saw it.
Okay. I mean, or did you think, well, maybe because it was the back end of his truck, maybe that's why he didn't know?
That's possible when you're driving a big vehicle. I don't know.
Have you ever driven a tractor trailer like this before?
I haven't drove trucks. I drove bus.
Okay. But nothing like this, correct?
No, but
So you wouldn't know what someone in the cab of the tractor is able to feel, see, or hear, when they're driving, correct?
no.
Okay. Just one moment, Your Honor. I mean, obviously, the truck was pretty identifiable, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Daughtry at all on the phone while you were at the scene of where everybody stopped?
And I didn't even, he just was sitting there for a moment. He didn't pull out my phone at the time.
Okay. Did you see him like get out of his truck at all?
Oh, no, he didn't get out right away. He just was sitting there.
Okay. And then how soon after did the police arrive once everyone was stopped?
Police arrived at a decent amount time. I would say probably about 20, 25 maybe minutes.
Okay. Did you see Mr. Daughtry speak to a police officer at all?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
And just a question for Mr. Draper. One of the questions is based on what you saw as far as the hit. Do you believe you would have felt that?
Well, I'm objecting to speculation, Your Honor. He's not driven a truck like that.
I drove it. Oh, okay.
Okay, so I understand, Your Honor. I think we're all set here.
All right, so your excuse is witness, Mr. Draper.
Thank you, Mr. Draper.
You're welcome.
Any additional witnesses, Ms. Horn?
No, I don't believe so, Your Honor. The people rest.
John call?
Your Honor, I would like to call Ms. Shanti Jeffries. I think she's hopefully in the waiting room.
Is Mr. Draper
Oh,
well,
yes, yeah, and I don't plan to recall him, Your Honor.
Your excuse is witness, Mr. Draper.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Draper.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Auntie, can you turn your video on, ma'am? Can you say your name for the record, please?
Shanti Jeffries
could I have the correct spelling of your first name?
is SHANTI WNTEE. The last name is JEFFRIES.
Thank you.
Jeffries, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
Put your hand down.
Ms. Jeffries, where do you work?
Detroit 911.
Okay, and what is your role there?
I 911 operator and also the keeper of records.
And what does that mean by keeper of the records?
I'm the person that is responsible for pulling 911 calls and CAD transcripts for different incidents and cases.
Okay, and I assume the Detroit Police Department keeps records as a matter of course of business?
Yes,
Okay, and is one of the records that the Detroit Police Department keeps and that you're a keeper of records of is something called an event report?
yes.
Okay, I want to share my screen and show you what I've marked as defendant's exhibit number 1. Are you able to see this document?
Yes,
Okay, are you familiar with this document?
yes.
All right, and what is this document?
This is the event report or CAD transcripts, as you will, for an incident that occurred on Gratiot and Varner in the city of Detroit.
And this is the type of report that's kept in the normal course of business for the Detroit Police Department and the city of Detroit?
Correct.
All right, and what type of information is usually contained in a report like this?
A location, the in type of incident, the person who called, or the person's phone number, the type of incident that it is, and what units or what who responded.
Okay, and is this a document that you provided to me, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's pursuant to a subpoena that was issued?
Correct.
All right, and this is a genuine and authentic replication of the actual event report?
Yes.
Okay, and looking at page 5 of this document, it says, you see in there where it says caller Verizon, kind of near the top?
Yes.
So what does that mean if it says caller Verizon?
Oh, that's the cell phone provider.
Okay, and then if we go back up looking at page 1, on this one, it says caller Kathleen, correct?
Correct.
Does that mean someone named Kathleen called in?
Yes.
Okay, is it generally what shows up on caller ID, or is it some information that shows up through the call?
Because she called from a cell phone, we had to ask the caller their name. Well, we names on all the calls.
Okay, and then going back to page 5, these reports list a phone number of where the call came from?
But not necessarily where the call came from, but where the unit was requested to.
Okay, but as far as the phone number of where the call came from, is that something that can be it's inputted in an event report?
Correct.
Okay, so going back to page 5 of this document, where it says here at the top Verizon, there's an address of 1425 Service Street, correct?
Yes.
Where does that information generate from?
That comes up on what's called our Annie Alley. That's the automatic number indicator and automatic location indicator. Every time a call comes in, if it comes in from a residence or a business, a landline phone, that address will appear. If it comes from a cell phone, the tower information will appear.
Okay, and next to where it says that address, it says phone, correct?
Correct.
The phone, are you able to see the phone number on there?
Yes.
All right, what's?
It's 330, area code 330-907-4502.
Okay, and then there's some notes in there, correct?
Yes.
And what do the notes say?
The note's just saying that it is a duplicate call from auto accident that occurred at Gratiot and East Varner, which means there was a second person that was calling.
Okay, and it has a call received time, correct, and date?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, at this point, I would like to introduce defendant's exhibit number 1 as an exhibit in this case.
Any objection?
Oh, no objection, Your Honor.
It's admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I actually have no further questions.
Any questions, Ms. Horn? Or Prof?
No questions for Ms. Jeffries. Thank you, Ms. Jeffries.
Thank you.
Jeffries, you're excused as a witness.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffries.
Any additional witnesses, Mr. Armstrong?
Yes, Your Honor. At this point, I'd like to call Mr. Daughtry to the stand.
Mr. Darcy, can you raise your right hand, sir? You swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Put your hand down. You may proceed.
All right. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Dennis Eugene Daughtry,
All right. And what is your date of birth?
10/31/1958.
All right. That makes you how old today?
This coming October Halloween will be 65, I believe. So I'm 64 now, if my math is right.
Well, lawyers don't do math, so I can't help you out with that. Who do you work for currently?
Carter Lumber.
And what is Carter Lumber?
It is a building material supply store that sells building materials in the state of Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana.
All right. And how long have you been working for Carter Lumber?
This December, I believe, will be 7. So now it's 6.
All right. 6 years currently?
6 years.
And what is your role with Carter Lumber?
Transportation driver.
All right. Give me a little more detail about that.
They pick up loads of wood that they have purchased off the internet, and they are brought to either the Detroit, Michigan location or the Kenton, Ohio location. And I am dispatched through my phone via email to go to those locations on the days requested to pick up a load to go deliver to a store that is pre-designation.
All right. On March 17th, 2021, were you working for Carter Lumber that day?
Yes, sir.
All right. And around 4:49 p.m., were you working that time?
Yes, sir.
And what were you doing on that date and time?
I was leaving the Nolan dispatch yard on East State Fair Avenue. I proceeded down Van Dyke Avenue and took a right turn onto Gratiot. And I was going to go down on the freeway to go south on 75 to get to Toledo, Ohio.
All right. And were you carrying any lumber materials at that time?
Yes, sir. I was fully loaded.
All right. How much was the load that you were carrying?
I think usually it's around 45,000, maybe a little more. Could have been 46,000 pounds.
All right. And how you saw pictures during this trial of a tractor trailer that was involved in an accident. My exhibit number 2 and the exhibits that the city attorney put out. Was that your vehicle that we saw in the exhibits?
Yes, it was.
All right. And what type of vehicle is that?
It's a ProStar International. I believe they're 2020s. The trailer is an East manufactured trailer, 48 foot in length.
All right. What 48 feet is what?
The trailer length.
All right. And what's the length of the cab, the tractor?
I've never put an actual measurement to it, but I'm going to give you at least 12 to 15 foot long.
All right. You heard Officer Robinson give an estimate about 65 feet from stem to stern of the truck. Does that sound right to you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you do any type of inspections on your truck before you drive?
Daily, before I go and after I've stopped for the day. It's a pre-trip and a post-trip.
Okay. Was there any damage to the tractor trailer before you started your job that day?
No, sir.
All right. All right. So you said your plan was to head to Ohio?
Yes, sir. To Toledo.
Okay. And the purpose of going to Toledo was what?
To deliver the load of wood to the Toledo Carter Lumber store.
How often had you traversed this area, Van Dyke to Gratiot over to the freeway prior to this incident?
I'm going to
Why does that matter?
I'm just trying to get his knowledge of the lay of the area, Your Honor.
I've driven for them for around 6 years, and I probably am on that street at least 3 to 4 times a day, since that was where we were picking up the wood and transporting it to the stores.
Okay. And what's been your experience with, the amount of, parked cars on Gratiot in that area?
There usually is a good line of cars on that side of the street while going south.
All right. Do you recall how fast you were going down Gratiot?
I had just left the intersection prior to this point, and at the most I was going was 35, and the light ahead of me went red, so I had to stop. And coming up to where the initial contact was made, I might have been doing 10 or 15 mile an hour, because it's a 80,000 pound vehicle and it just doesn't get up and, get moving real quick.
Okay. All right. And as you're going down, did you notice a place called, Siemens Pawn Shop? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I've passed that many times. I did notice that.
Okay. And as you were approaching that area on Gratiot, did you see any vehicles parked on the side of the street right in front of Siemens?
Yes, there were vehicles to my right along the curb lane.
Okay. And what lane were you in at the time?
I was in the lane adjacent to that, which that's a 3-lane street. And then there's the curb area where people are parked. So I was in the lane closest to where they were parked.
All right. And then did something cause you or, draw your attention to anything while you were driving?
As I was beginning to accelerate, I noticed in the line of cars, there was one vehicle that I observed reverse lights illuminated on.
All right. And then what happened next?
As I proceeded forward, I don't really think I felt so much as I realized that there was a small puff of something. It didn't take the wheel out of my hand. I wasn't doing very much speed anyway. And at that point, I pretty much realized something had occurred. I need to get to a place out of the way of the traffic to where we can investigate and take a look and see what had happened. There were a continual line of cars up to the red light that was now green. The following block also had cars parked along it. I think there's a restaurant supply place and there's a Burger King that has a bus stop in front of it. And none of these places were large enough for me to get my vehicle safely to the curb to investigate what might have happened.
All right. And why did you want to stop and investigate?
Because I did not see an accident occur, but I did realize that someone had moved a vehicle, because as I've stated, I saw reverse lights and I was thinking and making mental note of, I hope that person doesn't. And then I saw a small puff of smoke, because it's probably a good 50 foot behind me. That's all that I noticed. And at that point, I did realize there could have been something. And I wanted to clear it up and see if there was something, and was anyone injured, and did I need to maybe render assistance or at least act as if I care, because I did care and I still do care. I was just trying to get where my training had taught me is to get to a safe location to examine things. If your vehicle is able to roll, which mine was, and that was the reason for doing what I did.
All right. So let me stop you there. Did you eventually, bring your tractor trailer to a stop?
Yes, I did.
And how soon after you saw this puff did you bring it to a stop?
At the most, it could have been was 30, 45 seconds, because it was a moving incident. And I had driven the street before, as I've already stated, and I knew of the place where I did eventually stop, because I did know that curb lane is usually not blocked. And I could see it from where I was. and I saw that there were no trucks, trailers there. So I was going to be able to get to that location and investigate and see what I needed to do.
All right. Were there any traffic lights between where you saw the puff of smoke and where you stopped?
The one I was already almost at, which is at the end of the block of Zeitman, was green. And then there was one more that I proceeded through because I was trying to find a place to get safely to the curb.
All right. Did you run through any red lights?
No, sir.
Did you increase your speed of the tractor trailer at that point?
No, sir.
Did you decrease your speed?
No.
Well, I mean, eventually you stopped, correct?
Eventually, I did decrease the speed and stop once I reached that location.
Okay. But you maintained at least the same speed, no faster from the point of contact, maybe a little bit farther down, and then eventually you came to a stop.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you applied your brakes in order to stop the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
All right. And what did you do at that point?
I exited the vehicle on the passenger side along the curb and went to the rear where I had seen what I thought could have been something occurred and noticed the small little black indentation in the aluminum rim, but the tire was still on the rim and was still holding air. And that's
which
right.
tire?
It was the front axle on a 10-foot spread on the passenger side. It's the forward axle out of the two. One's at the very back and one is 10 foot in from the back of the trailer.
All right, I'm going to just share my screen here for a second, show you what we marked as exhibit number 2. This is your tractor trailer, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and then where my mouse is pointing, obviously it looks like there's maybe a street light in the way, but right here where my mouse is that the wheel that you're talking about?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what's the distance, if you know, from that wheel to where you sit in the cab?
38 and 12. I'd say roughly 45, 50 feet.
Okay. Did you check your tractor trailer for any other damage in any other location?
Yes, I did. I started at the front on the passenger side. I was looking hard to see what might have happened, where there might have been any, indications of someone striking me, I striking someone else, what had happened.
Right. Other than that second to last wheel on the trailer, did you see any other damage anywhere else on your truck?
No, sir.
All right. And after you checked your vehicle for damage, what did you do then?
I returned to the cab of the truck. I got my phone and called 911 and explained to them what had just happened, or at least what I thought had happened where I was.
Okay. All right. And what I want to show you, I'm going to share my screen again here, what we've marked as defendant's exhibit number 1, which is this event report. You see here where it says Raeigen?
Yes, sir.
And there's a phone number next to it. You see where it says 330-907-4502?
Yes, sir.
You recognize that number?
Yes, that is my number.
All right. When you say it's your number, what do you mean?
It's a company phone that is in my name that the company pays for, and I am issued my emails, which are basically the dispatch to go to wherever they need me to go to pick up a load to deliver.
Okay. How long have you had that phone number for?
For the last 6 years.
All right. And do you recall what you said to the 911 operator?
That basically I was involved in an accident, or at least I thought there had been an accident, and that I needed police officers to respond.
Okay. And did you stay put while you waited for 911 to arrive?
Yes, I stayed in the cab of my vehicle.
All right. And do you recall, did police eventually arrive on the scene?
Yes, they did.
All right. And did you provide the police with your identification?
Yes, I did.
Did you provide the police with registration for the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Did you provide proof of insurance for the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And they had your name, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Officer Robinson collected all that information from you, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Was it your intention to leave the scene after the contact was made?
No, sir.
You talked a little bit about your training as a, truck driver for this company. Have you worked for any other truck companies prior to Carter?
Yes, I have. I've worked for numerous. I've been driving a truck since about 1992.
All right. Did you receive training from any of your employers on what to do if you know or suspect that you're in an accident?
Yes, sir.
And what is that training you received?
Most of the companies give you a small accident investigation kit. Some have a disposable camera that is just, you take all the pictures and they turn the whole camera in, but it also has diagrams and papers to get names, witnesses, type vehicles, a little descriptions of it. And one of the sheets in that little packet have a diagram to sort of lay out as to what you think occurred.
Okay. Well, let me talk as far as what you're supposed to do with your vehicle in that type of situation.
You're supposed to
Give
get
any
to
training.
as far as I've been trained, you're supposed to, if your vehicle's able to move, you're supposed to get to the safest place to get out of the flow of the traffic. If it's not, then you have to stay right where you are.
Was there anywhere along the way from where you first saw the puff of smoke and to where you stopped, was there a spot on that curb where you could have pulled your truck over?
No, sir.
And
It
why
would have
not?
been no parking zone.
Well, was there available parking areas?
For cars,
Okay, but not for your truck?
not for tractor trailers.
All right.
Nothing that large.
All right. You heard some testimony today from Ms. Grimes that what at least sounds to me that the front of your trailer, the almost the entire length of your tractor trailer struck her vehicle. Is that accurate? Is that
Yes,
what
sir.
happened?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. I don't have any further questions, Your Honor.
Any process or- Ms. Horn, any cross? You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
Okay, yes, Your Honor, how are you today, Mr. Daughtry? Glad you were able to appear today. What I wanted to do is go down Gratiot with you, and the people wanted to just show a reflection of what Gratiot looks like there by way of Google Maps. Would you allow me to do that, Mr. Ernkoff, or no?
Your Honor, I would object for foundation.
Okay, and so you said that you were traveling approximately 30 miles, no more than 35 miles per hour while you were traveling southbound Gratiot, correct?
No more than that. If I was even doing that, because at the point at which they say I made the contact, I had just placed the vehicle into the movement category. I was stopped and I was starting to accelerate. So it was nowhere near 30 or 35. It might have been 15 or 20. If it really was that. They don't move very fast.
But in your testimony, you said you may have been going no more than 35. I guess you would say at this point, you really don't know how fast you were traveling at that time, correct?
It's not that I don't know how fast I was going. The speed limit is 35, and I had just placed the vehicle into the movement category. So I know I was not doing 35 at the point of supposed impact.
Okay, and are you aware that there's some areas on Gratiot traveling that way? It's 30 miles per hour?
Yes.
And let's see. And when you were approaching Zeidman's, as you stated that you were aware of where Zeidman's pawn shop is, you were passing this vehicle that had its reverse lights on.
Yeah.
Okay. Did that vehicle move?
No.
And
not that I saw until I went by it.
okay. And you saw the smoke. Where did the smoke appear to be coming from?
The forward axle on my trailer.
And where would that be? Because I don't know much about trucks. So the forward axle would be, if you were to point out a forward axle.
If it's a 48-foot trailer, there's a set of wheels on my trailer at the very back. That would be the 0 foot. It's called a 10-foot spread. So 10 foot forward of that wheel axle is the other axle, and the trailer itself is 48 feet in length with those two wheels at the back of the trailer. And even just to guess, I'm imagining the tractor is at least 12 to 15 foot long. So if you have 48 foot total trailer, 15 feet of that, you're looking at around 60 feet. That
Okay.
that second axle is 10 foot in. So it's a good 50 foot from where I sit.
Okay. And when you saw the smoke, what side of your vehicle did you see the smoke?
It was on the passenger side only.
Okay. Only on the passenger side. And you stated that after you saw the smoke, you were approaching a green light.
Yes, the light was already green.
And was that a cross street
Yes, there was a cross street there.
or was that an intersection? I guess we would say both.
It was in an intersection where a street does cross because it was a red traffic light, green traffic light, and it was green in nature this time.
Okay. And your trading talked you to immediately stop when you believe that you've been in an accident. Is that
No,
correct? As far as it's safe, as long as it's safe, a safe place to stop.
To get to a safe location, yes. If the vehicle will not move, you can't stop it. But they do teach us that to get to a safe location, to investigate and have things examined. Yes.
And when you define safe, what did your training teach you about what was considered safe?
Where you're not impeding the flow of traffic.
Okay. And would it be safe to say that one of those cross streets could have been a choice?
I was so close to the turn to be able to go to the right. There's no way I could have made a turn of that nature.
Okay. And do you believe that Gratiot could have been a safe place?
I was on Gratiot.
And were there cars parked all the way from Ziedman's all the way to the entrance of the freeway?
Yes, because that's where I knew of a business there that did have tractor trailers parked along the curb at that location, because I've been up and down that street numerous times and I could see it from where I was, and I could see that it was clear and that I still had green lights and I was traveling at a slow speed, so I could at least get to that point, pull to the curb, investigate, and see what needs to have happen.
And where you were pulling into the mouth of I-375 southbound, correct?
No, that's probably a good couple of 100 feet, yards down the road. This is almost a full block before you stay in the right lane to take the entrance to 375 and 75 south.
And 375 south, is that where you initially stopped?
No, I stopped well before that entrance ramp in front of the meat market.
Okay. And you felt that that was a safe place to stop?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And why did you feel that was a safe place to stop?
Because I was not going to be in the way of any traffic.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor.
Any reader rest?
Just real quick, Mr. Daughtry, you, where you eventually stopped, was that, in your opinion, the most practicable and reasonable under the circumstances without obstructing traffic?
Yes, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Any additional witnesses?
I do not, Your Honor.
Rest. Any rebuttal witnesses, Ms. Horn?
No, Your Honor. People rest.
Breathe.
Very. I think we've had a lot of testimony here today.
Mr. Daughtry, you can mute yourself.
All right.
Okay, and Your Honor, the people have proven its burden that Mr. Daughtry did not, in fact, stop immediately. The statute specifically provides MCL 257-618 that the driver of a vehicle who knows or has reason to know. The people believe Mr. Daughtry had reason to know by virtue of the smoke, that he had been involved in an auto accident on a public road, which is southbound Gratiot. He didn't immediately stop at the scene. As a matter of fact, the people have developed or shown that there were two scenes here because he did not immediately stop. And there was quite some time before after the smoke, and as Ms. Grimes has testified that she was being wrangled around in the car, Mr. Draper testified that he saw the hit, and our officer while he may not be a professional in accident scene investigation of a semi-truck trailer, he did testify that there was some damage to the back tire, passenger side. And Mr. Daughtry even himself stated there was no damage on the vehicle in his post and pre-inspection of the vehicle before he got on the road with the load and after he dropped it off. The people have proven that their witnesses are credible. Ms. Grimes has um, repeatedly and consistently gave her rendition of what happened that day. She stated that the vehicle was being wrangled around as if that truck made contact with her vehicle. She also testified that the vehicle was not on. So the people there's not been shown that there's some kind of lights that were on that indicated she would have been backing up. Also, the testimony reflected, as far as leaving the scene, it has the same elements, but when it comes to personal injury, and that's also on the ticket, which is charge number 1. So the people believe that this driver knew he hit something, did not immediately stop, did not do the diligence of making sure she was okay or going back and stopping. The people believe that from the time that the vehicle struck Miss Grimes's vehicle, there was plenty of time to pull over in a safe manner. She even explained the truck as a monster truck. I mean, he may or may not have blockaded traffic, but I believe on a truck of that magnitude, people could go on and not interrupt the flow of traffic. It's an accident scene. This is not a planned situation. And also the people not quite sure whether Mr. Daughtry knew how he was driving or how fast he was driving. He did testify that he couldn't have been going no more than 35 miles an hour, but wasn't sure because it just left from a light. So that's speculative in nature. So people believe they've proven their burden as to the leaving the scene of an accident, personal injury. She was injured as a result of this accident. The not veracity, but the magnitude of her injuries may be smaller or large, but she was transported to the hospital. She was treated for her injuries. And we also believe that we've proven there's property damage. This vehicle is now totaled as a result of this incident.
Mr. Armstrong?
Thank you, Your Honor. A couple of points I just want to address before I get into the meat of my argument. Number one, as far as credibility, I think Mrs. Grimes, I hate to say it, but she lacks it, at least to a certain extent, as far as, she described this event that took possibly 10 minutes and that the entirety of the truck made contact with her vehicle, but there's no evidence to support that whatsoever. The only damage was this one wheel way at the back end of the truck that came out. I mean, Mr. Draper, he is at least a credible witness. He said it was the back end of the truck that hit it. Now, whether that's here or there, she made it sound like Mr. Daughtry was driving like a maniac down the road, which I said, her testimony is not credible to that. As far as her injuries, yes, we acknowledge she went to the hospital, but it does not appear she actually suffered an injury from the accident. I think there was a lot of drama involved with her testimony. What we do have is testimony that Mr. Daughtry didn't run any red lights. He didn't appear to take any evasive action, didn't appear that he was trying to get away from the scene. I mean, he's driving, 45,000 pounds of lumber. It's not easy to get away from a scene with that type of vehicle. He testified that he saw this puff of smoke. Now, whether he knew he was actually in an accident, he didn't know, but he wanted to stop anyways. As I think the testimony came out, again, going back to Ms. Grimes saying that some semi-truck stopped him, all this, no other witnesses testified to that. Officer Robinson didn't testify to that. The other supposed lady who tried to flag down Mr. Daughtry, she wasn't present. She wasn't able to testify to that. So Mr. Draper seems to be the most credible witness outside of my client, and said he stopped on his own. Nobody blocked him in. Nobody stopped him. He wanted to investigate. He wanted to see what had happened. But I think Officer Robinson testified, Mr. Draper testified, there are cars parked all along Gratiot Road. I don't know if the court has any knowledge of it, but it seems to be common knowledge that that is a busy road and there's cars parked up and down. Officer Robinson, out of 25 classes that they offer, he went to one. didn't do any investigation for tractor trailers. He didn't go back to the original scene. He didn't take pictures. He didn't take pictures of where he thought Mr. Daughtry could have pulled over before where he did. And this is where I think the meat of everything is, Your Honor. If I may share my screen and show you, this is the model criminal jury instructions for leaving the scene of an accident resulting in vehicle damage, injury, serious impairment of a body function, or death. I think all the, 1 through 5, we understand those. 6, it's 5th that the defendant failed to immediately stop, in this case, his motor vehicle at the scene of the accident in order to render assistance and give information required by law, or to immediately report the accident to the nearest or most convenient police agency or officer if there was a reasonable and honest belief that remaining at the scene would cause in further harm. The most important part here is this is the jury instructions, Your Honor. The requirement that the driver immediately stop means that the driver must stop and park the car as soon as practicable and reasonable under the circumstances and without obstructing traffic more than is necessary. Mr. Daughtry has provided evidence that there was no other place where he could pull over without obstructing traffic more than was necessary. Officer Robinson didn't provide the court with any proof of that whatsoever. None of the witnesses provided the court with any contrary evidence whatsoever. And I think the biggest thing is that he called 911, Your Honor. That's been established by the records, by the Detroit City Police. He called. This was not a situation where he was driving for 20, 30 minutes before he stopped. Mr. Draper said it was about less than a minute. Mr. Daughtry testified that it was maybe 35, 40 seconds before he eventually stopped. And the records established that he called 911. I don't know what more Mr. Daughtry was supposed to do. The people and maybe Officer Robinson wanted him to stop sooner, but the jury instructions do not require Mr. Daughtry to stop on a dime as soon as something happens. He needed to put that 60-foot tractor trailer somewhere where it's not blocking traffic. He did that as soon as it was possible, like just a minute away, not more than that. Got out of his car, checked the damage, and then he called 911. The people have not met their burden, Your Honor, for beyond a reasonable doubt. They have not proved it. I think what Mr. Daughtry did fits the definition of the exception in the jury instructions. He parked the car as soon as practical and reasonable under the circumstances and without obstructing more than was necessary. There's no evidence that Mr. Daughtry had any intent to flee the scene. He stopped. He gave Officer Robinson his license, his registration, his proof of insurance, and all the information was known. He didn't flee the scene, Your Honor. The people have not met their burden.
Rebuttal argument?
No rebuttal, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, the court has heard from a number of witnesses, and honestly, I believe that all the witnesses were pretty credible. I'm not gonna go through all the testimony, but the only issue that this court has to determine is if Mr. Daughtry left the scene of an accident where there was personal injury or where there was property damage. It's not disputed that there was an accident. The question becomes, did Mr. Daughtry even really know that there was an accident? I mean, he's in a pretty big vehicle, and I truly believe it's possible he didn't feel or know that he had struck something. He testified himself that he did see some smoke, so he knew that something happened. And when he felt it was most reasonable for him to stop, that's when he stopped. The court is familiar with Gratiot in that area, very familiar with that area. And it is true, there are cars usually always parked up and down Gratiot by Zeidman's. That's a very busy area. And I know you have the Burger King, which you probably couldn't stop there. And then there's like there might be another place, but I think he stopped where he could. And I don't think he really left the scene of the accident. I don't think he did. So I think that there was an accident. I feel that Ms. Grimes was injured during this accident. But as far as if Mr. Daughtry left the scene of the accident, I don't think that the people have met their burden. So with that, the court is not it has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt that he did leave the scene of an accident with personal injury, or that he did leave the scene of an accident with property damage.
And thank you for that, Your Honor. And I think one of the reasons that we were concerned about as to the manner in which he was driving, there is a companion ticket with that, Your Honor. It's an accident drive, failed to use due care and caution. I'm not sure if that's still open, because let's see, that's a civil infraction. And I'm wondering what happened with that, because it was supposed to follow with the companion cases.
Should have followed. Let me see.
Okay, I can give you the case number if you need it, Judge.
Yes, please.
Okay, it's SP 1177 2221.
Wait a minute. Let me, can you give that to me again?
Yes.
SP, oh,
One-
11.
Yes,
7.
1177 222 count 1. It's only one count on that ticket.
Wait, I'm sorry.
That's okay. SP 1177 2221.
Okay, it is a default.
And
It
Mr.
should
Arnkoff,
be.
right?
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be our understanding, and I think like Ms. Horn said, everything was supposed to be following along. You know, we had an appearance. I think, you know, all ticket numbers were on the appearance. So I don't know when it went into default. I know this case has
Yeah.
been hanging around.
It went into default November.
Was that the date the court, I remember we had a court date with your predecessor that actually fell on a holiday. And
Yeah.
I think-
That's
it should have-
entered
because
into
that's
record.
what he's been present. You guys have been present for like every hearing that we've had. We've had a number of them. So
Yeah.
If it's in default, you're moving to set aside the default, Ms. Warren.
Mr. Arnkoff,
I am, Your Honor, yes.
Oh, right. Mr. Arnkoff, any objection?
If Ms. Horn, I mean, yeah, that's fine.
does he want to take blockading? I mean, there was smoke
Well-
from somewhere.
I mean, yeah, I mean, we'll take a blockading on the failure to use due care and caution.
And you know what, in all honesty, Your Honor, in good faith, I think based on the results of the court today, that in good faith, if you want to move for dismissal, I have no objection, Mr. Arnkoff.
I would so move, Your Honor.
All right, so this matter is dismissed without prejudice. You're all set, Mr. Daughtry. Thank you, Mr. Arnkoff. Thank you, Ms. Horn.
Thank you, Judge. Thank
Your
you.
Honor, thank you for your time. Thank you, Ms. Horn.
Okay, bye, everybody.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.